A medical office system, medical billing system, is about creating charges that cover services provided to patients. Those charges are usually first sent to the insurance company and then come back adjudicated by the insurance company for possibly remainder billing to the patient. So charges is a central piece in this puzzle. Ultimately, charges will end up on a patient statement if there is a balance that remains that can be collected from the patient. So if you would pull in open charges, the charges that are currently open, have not been paid or closed, then it is indeed possible to issue statements manually by selecting them or selecting more and then printing them onto a. So here we have him on a balance statement. These indices here, the 3 and the 10, explain what the current status is. Okay, the 3 is the insurance company now acted. And the 10 is it was submitted, but no decision has been made by the insurance company. That's why there is no balance at this point to be claimed from the patient. Because the patient here paid the patient part and the other one is still pending, which shows that it is not so easy for an operator to manually pick charges that are ready to be billed on a statement, because there are so many criterion that need to be considered: where those charges uploaded, where those charges adjudicated, where they resubmitted, etc., etc. Are those charges in what we call final state? That basically, normally, no medical office will issue charges manually by selecting the charges to be billed themselves. It's simply too complicated. That's why Xmatic has an application to help out here. We have the application here, patient statement run. That module will go through all the criterion that may have an influence on if and how charges need to be billed to the patient, and selects the ones that, according to those criterion, are ready to be included. So normally a billing system will rely on the patient statements run. At this point, an operator, a billing manager, a payments desk manager, will carefully go over those statements and see if they conform to what is required. If certain charges cause the operator to intervene, they may or may not actually have to be included in a final run. That is why it is handy to realize what happens if a patient statements run is executed. If we go here, charges, Command L, today is the 10th of October 22. Give me the charges that have the last statement date written into it on October 10th. And here we have them again. So if we need to work those charges and eventually do that statement run again with the modified charges, then we can use the last statement date to get back to that selection of charges that need to be issued. And we can then print or print preview this selection again with the modifications or the corrections that have in the meantime been applied. Okay. But we can also say, yes, but I closed some charges simply because I accept that that balance is not going to be enforced on the patient. Then using the last issue date will bring those charges back in the selection. In that case, if we have taken charges out of the selection, if we close them, then it is better to first to first use the last selection date to get that selection. So those were the ones that were issued, and roll back the previous statement date. Why is that interesting? Because now, with the new criterion, eventual closed charges during a renewed patient statements run, those charges that have been taken out of the selection by an operator through corrective action will now be recognized as having been removed. So the statements run will now have been properly updated. We selected here the manual approach to the statement run by using application patient statements run. Most of the time, though, it is preferable to use an automatic job so that each morning or at a specific time, automatically the statements run goes through all the open charges and verifies if there are any billable. Job. And we see that we have an automatic job that is called statements run. Statements run. It executes the method statements run, and it indicates here that it will run starting September the 20th, and it will run every day, one time a day. We can also indicate on which machine we want it to run. Additionally, we can indicate on which printer we want it to run. We can target a specific printer that is always ready to receive statements, meaning it is always ready to be used with blank paper that is normally used to issue statements. Okay, There are also a few preferences that might be useful to look into. Charges, statements. These preferences have an influence on what is included in a statements run and what is not included. Here it selects the type of output report. These delays determine when and how charges are included. And here are some additional preferences. I will not go over them here, but in many cases, the description of these preferences will be clear. I would not modify the default, but it is possible that during production, certain requirements become obvious, and then it might be useful to look at some of these statement preferences and to see which ones could be used. For instance, take here, this practice is now going to receive Zelle payments. Okay, so Zelle payments, say at Bank of America, at xmedic.com. Okay, so this email address will now appear on the statements inviting patients to pay via Zelle. The interest of Zelle payments is that Zelle payments can be automatically downloaded and processed by Xmedic, including posted, and that is a huge time saver. Now, I'm not saying that it always succeeds, because if somebody pays with a Zelle payment and that person, for instance, is not even in your database, then no charges, no open charges may be found, and then there will be no posting made. There will only be a payment made to confirm the reception of the money, but that payment will be a deposit on account, waiting further resolution. Because most of the time, if a third party pays, you will be able to find out for which patient they pay, and then make that patient a member of the payer in order for that payment to be posted automatically.